Okay, I get it. Not only COD history on the nostalgic side of things, but also Call of Duty updates and everything that encompasses COD right now. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Chaos here. Thank you for the love on the Black Ops Gulf War video. We're going to take it a step further today. We're going to talk about weapons, guns specifically, that you might actually see in Black Ops Gulf War. This is courtesy of our boy E, who used to email us all these different detailed lists, and he's still at it. Now, it's more or less confirmed at this point that the next Call of Duty game is going to be a sequel to Black Ops Cold War and allegedly titled Gulf War. And it'll be headed up by Treyarch, but unlike their last game, they actually have 3 years to make this one. Now, we're reportedly going to get an official reveal of it at the Xbox Showcase in June, but thanks to a longtime viewer and contributor to the channel, we now have a really good idea of a chunk of weapons that we could be getting our hands on this fall. And I do want to say, E's gun predictions in the past when we used to cover Call of Duty, they were consistently correct. And some of the weapons on the list have actually leaked, and they're allegedly pretty much confirmed too. So you let me know in the comments which of these weapons you want to see in Black Ops Gulf War. Drop a like if you are enjoying the COD Top 10 revival. And here we go. At number 10, the Jet Gun. Properly known as the Thrustodyne Aeronautics Model 23, the Jet Gun is a wonder weapon that popped up in Black Ops 2, but then it never returned for whatever reason. It's kind of odd because Zombies mode usually loves throwing in little pieces of nostalgia and throwback weapons, but the Jet Gun is also widely seen as one of the worst wonder weapons in COD history, so maybe that's why it never came back. But with all that being said, it seems like it's a perfect time to fix things. The Jet Gun had to be constructed, and once you built it, you only had about 15 seconds to use it, or it would break. On top of all that, it had a cooldown after firing, so it wasn't exactly the best weapon for fighting off hordes of enemies and providing continuous fire, but it was still fun. It was a fun piece of COD history, and I know a lot of you longtime fans would love to see it reworked. Maybe buff it out, bring it back for Black Ops Gulf War, which would actually make sense in the timeline, since this game is going to take place in the 90s, roughly 10 years after Black Ops 2, so why not buff it, bring it back, Transit 2, anybody? You let me know. At number 9, the FIM-92 Stinger. Now let's move over to non-zombies modes here, and the Stinger seems to be a very safe bet for a launcher in the 1990s Call of Duty game. Popped up a few times in the Modern Warfare series, which is where most of you probably know it, but it actually showed up throughout Black Ops history as well. It just had different names. In Black Ops 2, a futuristic version of the Stinger called the FHJ-18 was in the campaign and multiplayer. Black Ops Cold War, we had the Sigma 3, which was based on the real-life FIM-43 Red Eye launcher, which was actually the precursor to the FIM-92. Now, we're going to need at least one lock-on launcher in Black Ops Gulf War, we know that, so I think the Stinger is going to be a solid choice. It fits in with the time period, and it would get the job done. At number 8, the MP5. Now, I know, a lot of you are probably absolutely tired of seeing the MP5 in every single Call of Duty, but it's almost certainly going to be coming back in Black Ops Gulf War because of how well it fits in with that time period and how heavily it was used in the real-world conflict. I mean, Treyarch does have an interesting opportunity here because Black Ops Gulf War is going to tie into Warzone, which already has an MP5 in the form of the Lockman sub from Modern Warfare 2, and as he pointed out to me, that sub is based on the real-world MP5A5, but the MP5 that appeared in the last Treyarch game, Black Ops Cold War, was actually based on the MP5K. Are you still with me here? Black Ops Gulf War is going to be set a few years after Cold War. So does that mean its version of the MP5 will be the MP5K? I don't know. Interestingly, in 1992, a couple of variants came out, the MP510, the MP540. So will Treyarch use those for their new version in Black Ops Gulf War? I mean, it's possible, but mark my words. The MP5 will be back in this year's COD. It is absolutely inevitable. At number 7, the FN FAL. It's a pretty important firearm from this time period, but it's also been supposedly leaked for Black Ops Gulf War already. It's appeared in a ton of COD history videos and Call of Duty games. It even appeared in the original 2 Black Ops games. Now, it's been hit or miss, as a lot of it did have potential in the 2019 Modern Warfare reboot, but it took a lot of kitting out in order to take advantage of the strengths. It also actually appeared in COD Ghost. It was the IA-12, which turned into a marksman rifle, and well, it sucked. Now, Black Ops Gulf War, going to the 90s, seems like it could be the gun. According to recent leaks, the IMI Romat, the MBell MD1 are both coming to Black Ops Gulf War, both of which are variants of the FN FAL. So you need to get ready for some powerhouse semi-auto rifles in this year's Call of Duty offering. Hopefully they're not quite as busted as the Black Ops 2 version, because that would be a recipe for disaster. Does anybody remember that gun getting banned from competitive play? At number 6, the Dragunov. Now, I have a bit of a rocky history with this weapon. I still remember back in the day when my viewers made me do a commentary while using the Black Ops 1 Dragunov with a camera spike, and it was some of the least fun I've ever had making a Call of Duty video. Since then, I've held a bit of a grudge towards the Dragunov, even if there have been better versions of it like the ones in the original Modern Warfare 3 and the reboot. But according to leaks in the real-world context of the Gulf War, seems like the Drag is going to be returning later this year. Now, I don't mean to say the Dragunov has always been bad. Heck, the variant that appeared in Black Ops 2, the SVU-AS, was actually pretty underrated. But it seems the classic SVD Dragunov is going to be showing up in Black Ops Gulf War, and I can tell you right now, I won't be using it. Now, hopefully it's not overpowered. Hopefully it's not underpowered. But for some reason, for Call of Duty, this weapon is hard to get right. Now we crack into the top 5. No surprise, no shocker here, the M16. It's one of the most iconic firearms in history. It was used extensively during the Gulf War by the American forces. The M16 first entered service in 1964, still in use to this day. But there are so many variants. The M16A2 entered service in 1983 with a number of improvements over the original. You had better resistance to overheating. You had the ability to attach a grenade launcher to the barrel. But in 1993, the M16A3 was released and was the first version to feature fully automatic firing capabilities. Most of us know the M16 for the iconic 3-round burst fire mode, but depending on what exact year Black Ops Gulf War takes place, we could actually get a full auto version. Here's my guess. Treyarch will keep the M16 as a 3-round burst, which would mean we're using the A2 version, especially since the Gulf War ended before the M16A3 was ever released. But if they want to stretch their history just a little bit, they may put the A3 in there. But no matter what, there will be some type of variant of the M16 in Black Ops Gulf War. At number 4, the AS Val. It's a weapon that's been around since the late 80s, but it never really got much attention in video games until the last decade or so. Now, everyone knows what it is. It's become pretty iconic for the integrated suppressor alone. Plus, the version that appeared in Modern Warfare 2019 was honestly widely seen as a top-tier gun. So naturally, Treyarch's going to take note. Now, E thinks the Black Ops Gulf War version of the AS Val is going to play a similar role as the Honey Badger did for Ghost. Stealthy, somewhat close-range assault rifle, and I can see that. There are a handful of real-world variants of the AS Val, so it would make sense if Black Ops Gulf War had something, maybe the VSS Ventores or the SR3 Vicar, and I think a lot more recent COD fans would actually love to see this one actually be true. At number 3, the USP. It's another weapon that is actually expected to show up in Black Ops Gulf War after it showed up after a couple leaks. Interestingly, 2 different versions of the USP have leaked, those being the USP-9 and the USP-40. So it's possible that they may actually fill 2 different roles here. In real life, the USP was first introduced in 93, which I find interesting because, like I said before, the Gulf War ended in 1991. So does that mean this game's campaign is going to take place during and after the conflict? Or does that just mean Treyarch is going to be using weapons from the early 90s and taking a bit of artistic liberty with the firearms of the conflict? Regardless of the explanation, it doesn't matter. The USP-9 is a traditional 9mm version of the handgun. USP-40, the larger of the round. So this could mean that there's going to be 2 USPs in Black Ops Gulf War, one lighter and weaker, and one heavier and stronger. Or it could mean the USP will have multiple ammo options in the Create a Class menu. Either way, it's more than likely going to be one of your sidearm options in the game, which I think is pretty cool because it was an awesome firearm that really hasn't been done justice in Call of Duty. It was decent in the original Modern Warfare, but quickly became useless in all of the sequels. At number 2, the L96A1. Now, this was one of my favorite weapons in the original Black Ops, and a handful of different versions have actually shown up throughout COD history. The original Modern Warfare 3 had a version called the L118A. Ghost had their own version, the L115. Black Ops Cold War, the LW3 Tundra, better known as the Real World Arctic Warfare, or AWP, for all you Counter-Strike players. The Modern Warfare Reboot series also has the AW50, and the original Modern Warfare had the extremely underrated AS50. All of these guns stem directly from the L96A1, which first entered service in 1982 before getting modified and adjusted into all those rifles we talked about. Raise your hand if you remember the XPR-50 from Black Ops 2. That's actually a futuristic version of the AS-50. It's even called the AS-50 in the Black Ops 2 game file. So, the L96 has been in way more Call of Duty games than you actually probably realized, and there's a very good chance that it makes it in Black Ops Gulf War. Now, personally, I would love to see the original A1 version come back because it's actually been a hot minute since we got to mess around with that one, but given the time period the game is set in, I think the most likely candidate is probably the AWP. I mean, it was introduced in the 90s, so we'll see. At number 1 today, this puts a smile on my face, the Enfield. I say to this day, it's one of the most underrated guns in the original Black Ops. I stand by it. It was unlocked at level 5. Had some relatively obvious drawbacks, and it was ugly. Most people put it down once they unlocked the FAMAS or Galil, which I understand. But I think the Enfield had a ton of potential with how many variants of this thing there are. I think there's a very good chance it pops up later this year. The Enfield first entered production in 1985, after almost a decade in the design phase. The earliest ideas for the assault rifle date back to the 40s, when the United Kingdom was actually trying to develop a new type of bullpup rifle at the end of World War II. The first version of the Enfield AR was called the EM1. Then it was later redesigned to be the XL60 platform, then the XL70 platform, then the 80, and finally, it was completed and manufactured for British Armed Forces as the L85 and L86, which is the version that we got in the original Black Ops known as the Enfield. By 1994, over 350,000 L85 and 86 rifles have been produced, and while it was notorious for its design flaws, it has an iconic design, heavily used during the time period that the new COD game will allegedly be set in. Plus, it saw some action in the Gulf War during Operation Granby, so I'm guessing it's going to show up in some capacity in the game. I hope it's as awesome and underrated as the version that I ran around with in 2010. It was just so buttery smooth. I loved it. And there you have it. Those are 10 weapons that there's a really good chance you see later this year. Let me know which one of these sticks out the most to you, another weapon you would like to see that we didn't mention, and I'll see you guys soon.